Curse of the Werewolf is a spinning roller coaster in Universal Orlando's new Epic Universe theme park. This is a fun layout, but the ride doesn't quite live up to Universal's lofty standards. I will explain why in this review. Epic Universe was announced in 2019. The initial concept art was relatively close to the final product, except for one land, Dark Universe. Originally, this land would have had two attractions, a dark ride and a large theater. The park would have originally opened in 2023, but construction was delayed a few years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. When construction resumed, the theater was cancelled. Instead, it was replaced by a roller coaster, specifically a spinning coaster from Mack Rides named Curse of the Werewolf. This will be the park's fourth roller coaster, whereas the other three were meticulously planned out and will integrate into their respective areas. Curse of the Werewolf was very clearly fast-tracked and given a limited budget, for a Universal ride at least. How can I tell it was fast-tracked? Just look at the coaster. The entire layout is filled with netting. This is ugly and screams last minute. Universal usually prioritizes aesthetics and sightlines with their rides. When these rides pass over or close to pathways, they take loose articles into very close consideration. For the ones that are tamer, bags and everything can ride with you. For the ones that are wilder, specifically ones where items could easily come loose, they often implement strict loose article policies. Either one of two things happened with Curse of the Werewolf. Either they forgot to consider loose articles when they greenlit the attraction, or they expected guests to ride with their belongings and underestimated the forces on the ride. I would suspect the latter. Since the ride has separate load and unload platforms, storage bins would not be super convenient. Since the queue was already designed without lockers, they could not be added mid-queue without major rework. That meant they would either need to install lockers before the queue line, like the Incredible Hulk coaster, or install netting. While the nets would hurt the ride's overall aesthetics, they probably are the best overall choice for guest satisfaction. I think the average guest would prefer a coaster photo with a net in it rather than being without their belongings in line. As for the limited budget, it is apparent looking at the queue and ride itself. Many Universal attractions feature animatronics. Curse of the Werewolf instead just has some static statues. The one in the final brake run looks particularly bad. It looks like a decoration straight from Spirit Halloween. And on top of that, they don't even try to hide the speaker. It is out in plain sight. They definitely could fix this in the future if they wanted to, but only time will tell. Beyond those two issues, I think the coaster actually looks good. I like the shed that contains the coaster's swing launch sequence. It matches with the aesthetics of Dark Universe. Then the landscaping around the coaster is quite mature for a relatively new ride. It helps that track work was completed in 2023, 2 years before the ride even opened, meaning the shrubbery had plenty of time to grow in. The ride is themed to the 1941 film The Wolfman. This has a lot of potential for a themed experience, but this coaster only partially delivers on that. The queue is the base camp for the Guild of the Mystics. The outdoor part at the start looks fine, but a majority of the queue consists of some cramped switchbacks. The only things to see here are some banners hanging from the ceiling and a psychic table. Then the station has a screen overhead fittingly displaying a full moon. Perfect werewolf conditions. Apparently, the plot is that you're going on a journey through the woods filled with werewolves. But unless I missed a detail somewhere in the queue, that is only inferred rather than being outright conveyed. How long you can wait can vary wildly. The longest waits are most common in the afternoon. On busy days, the queue can easily exceed an hour. I believe this coaster usually operates with 3 trains, but during my visits to the park, it only had 2 available. This led to longer waits than usual. Not only were there less trains going, but the separate load and unload platform causes an extra delay if there's only 2 trains on the circuit. Each train holds a max of 20 riders, as they are comprised of 5 cars. Each car is pairs of guests sitting back to back. These are longer trains than Mack has used in their other spinning coasters at least, which have previously used 2 to 4 car trains, so this is a capacity upgrade. What are some tips to avoid a long wait? 1. Head there early in the morning. This ride is part of early entry, and it's typically just a 5-minute wait during this time. The ride also tends to have a minimal wait during the first hour of normal operations as well. 2. Head there in the evening. The line drops significantly during the final 2 hours, often becoming a walk-on during the last hour. This is also a really fun time to experience the attraction. There is very little light around the track, so it genuinely feels like you're cruising through the spooky woods. 3. Utilize the single rider line. This sometimes works. Since the coaster is targeted more towards families, many groups are not willing to split up, but it can get backed up if a few larger groups tend to use it. 4. Use the express pass. This is a pricey upcharge, but you are routed directly to the load platform, boarding almost immediately. At the end of the queue, you are assigned a row, but if you ask nicely, the crew will take row requests. I don't think seat matters tremendously with this ride, but I have a slight preference for the back car. What matters more is the weight distribution. You spin far more if your vehicle is off-balanced. This most commonly occurs on other spinning coasters if 1 or 2 seats behind you are empty. However, that situation is extremely unlikely to occur here. As long as someone is in the single rider line, and they usually are, all the seats will be filled. So here to get a lot of spinning, you need the guests on each side of the car to have wildly different weights, i.e. 2 adults versus 2 children. That can be hard to arrange unless you're in a large enough family or group that has those types of people. Riders are secured by L-shaped lap bars. These are comfortable. This is the lone restraint, so loading is quick, especially because there are separate load and unload platforms. Some of the older Mack spinners can be tight fits for larger guests, but the restraints here seemed a bit more accommodating by having a higher verify. As I noted earlier, all your belongings ride with you. Bags ride at your feet, which can be a bit cramped for taller guests. If you don't have secure pockets, I strongly recommend bringing a bag for your loose articles. If you don't have one, any of the gift shops will be able to provide you with a plastic bag. Since you cannot have anything in your hands, I saw some guests put their phone, wallet, or keys on the ground of the train. I'd personally be terrified they'd come loose, but at minimum, they are going to move around a lot. Like many attractions at Universal, this ride features its own soundtrack. Curse the Werewolf does not have onboard audio. Rather, there are speakers alongside the layout. As I alluded to earlier, I wish these had been hidden or better themed. They are just basic speakers. But I do like the ominous musical score that plays around the attraction. It just can be a bit tricky to hear the narration over the ride itself. I think onboard audio would have helped both the aesthetics and sound quality. Once dispatched, you turn left out of the station. You then have a rolling LSM launch. This is the first non-extreme Mack spinner to feature a launch. It's a more exciting start than a lift hill, and it has okay punch. I do wish this had a proper show scene though. Universal typically does that with their launch coasters, but the team was not given a budget to do that. Immediately afterwards is a camelback. You barely make it over this. Nonetheless, you get a tiny pop of air in the front, and those in back get a good pull over the descent due to the steepness. You then have banked turnaround 1. This too is taken rather slowly, so it offers some solid lateral hang time, particularly if you're in the rear rows. The train then dips into the aforementioned shed, offering some weightlessness in the back. Then you hear a ferocious roar, and if you look above the doorways, you may see a werewolf statue. I say may because it is extremely difficult to notice if you're facing sideways. Even if you're not sideways, it is hard to spot due to the lighting and train speed. This shed contains a swing launch, a unique variant I have not seen elsewhere. The forward boost has minimal power, but I like what comes afterwards. You go in a banked turnaround 2, and you stall out on it. Those in the front cars get some more lateral hang time. Not so much in the back though, because you barely make it past the start of the incline. You then roll back through the shed. I expected another launch, but instead, it is actually a subtle brake. You then head back up turnaround 1, not having enough momentum to clear it this time around. You again stall out, this time giving those in the back car some delightful lateral hang time. You then head back into the shed for the ride's third and final launch. This is a marginal acceleration. I knew this coaster had a swing launch, but I didn't realize going in it was designed in such a way that it only fires on 2 of the 3 passes. Is there another coaster out there that does the same thing? I can't think of one. This was a creative way to work a swing launch into a full circuit layout, capable of running multiple trains. Had the ride powered through the launch, it would have felt ridiculously short. And keep in mind, a lot of people already call this ride too short. Curse of the Werewolf then completes turnaround 2. The front cars get some weak laterals as they're pushed into it. They'll also lean forwards a bit. Those in the back car get another good dose of lateral hang time as they navigate the top of the element much more slowly. The pullout is a little side-to-side shimmy. This is quick with some light whip, and you have a great near miss with the track above. This leads directly into a low turn that exerts nice positive Gs, the best on the ride. These can really hit hard if you're spinning at this point. Next are back-to-back humps. The first offers very weak floater in the front and a hint of weightlessness in the back. The second does the inverse. It also crosses directly over the midway, which is a fun visual off-ride. You then hit the brakes, which is the ugliest part of the ride. And I really need to analyze how lazy this is. For one, you have magenta tarps. These look like temporary work walls, not something that should be on a finished attraction. 2, you have a series of lanterns on the ground. Some didn't even bother to try to hide the power cords. 3, you have that very basic statue that again looks like it came from Spirit Halloween. And 4, you have the most egregious case of a speaker out in plain sight. I think the tapestry and ceiling design looks good, but everything else left a sour taste in my mouth. I really hope Universal is willing to spend some cash to fix this in the future. You then head to the unload platform, ending the experience. The whole coaster is roughly 1 minute in duration. Now in the grand scheme of family coasters, that is a decent duration. That is especially true because this coaster has no lift hill, so it's all action start to finish. However, many guests have waited in excess of an hour to experience this one. Many of Universal's other coasters feature dark ride sections or slower story elements that pad the runtime. Curse of the Werewolf essentially is all gas, no brake. On that note, this ride does have nice pacing, and it's a pretty disorienting experience, especially with that weird swing launch sequence in the middle. I had no clue where I was going next. I just wish it spun more. This probably spun the least of any of the free spinning mocks I've experienced. On most of my rides, it was just a slow rotation due to the weight distributions. Those with off-balance cars definitely spun more, but the rate of rotation still is not as intense as other installations. Maybe that's a byproduct of the layout, or it is possible the park intentionally dampened the rotation as with the extreme spinners. In terms of smoothness, this ride is glass smooth. That is what I have come to expect with mock family coasters, and this one is no different. What would I rate Curse of the Werewolf? I would give it a 6 out of 10. This is a decent coaster. It definitely has its flaws in the aesthetic and theming departments, especially compared to everything else at Epic Universe, but the coaster itself is fun. It is a frenetic experience with some sweet lateral hang time and a smidge of air time. And the spin, while not as crazy as other spinners out there, adds to the disorientation. I think the key with this one is to avoid a long wait with this coaster, or else you're almost guaranteed to come off disappointed. Universal could allocate the budget in the future to go back and fix this if they wanted to, but I suspect they're more likely to keep investing in new attractions instead. Definitely give this a whirl while at the park. Just head there early or late in the day so your wait is minimal. It is absolutely worth a sub 20 minute wait in my opinion, just not the really long waits it gets. I think this is close to the other mock family spinners in terms of overall quality. This one has a superior layout, but the others have better spinning. This one just has the added expectations being at a Universal park, which can drag it down if you don't go in with the right expectations. Is it less themed than Universal's other coasters? Yes. But this essentially was designed to be a bonus filler attraction. It certainly beats a random flat in my opinion. With that mindset and a short wait, it is enjoyable. Those are my thoughts on Curse of the Werewolf at Epic Universe. What are your thoughts on this coaster? especially with regards to its fit at the park? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you consider subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.